Hello and welcome to Breakfast Central. It's Thursday and it's a public holiday, but like you know, for us here, it's always a call to duty, and that's why we're here to make sure that you are indeed updated. Well, not as a robot this time, but of course, as one who would love to know what the latest stories are concerning news and current affairs around you. The president definitely had a wonderful time yesterday, and we did see how, the entire meeting is indeed going. We'll talk about that in the course of our conversation. Plus, successes met or made by the Nigerian army. This is another conversation we're going to have concerning the entire attacks that has been taking place in the northern part of Nigeria and how the military is indeed responding. Great successes, you'd like to say. But then again, welcome to Breakfast Central on a Thursday morning. We're streaming live, so you could go ahead and follow us on all socials, on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, where you can also drop a comment because we'll be looking to read your comments as well. My name is Joe Hansen, and I'm saying good morning.
You're welcome to Breakfast Central, wherever you're watching us from across the world. If you're tuning in from Tehran, from Milan or Anambra, you're welcome to Breakfast Central. This is where we bring you all the action, all the news, information, current affairs that you need to start your day right. And yesterday, the United Kingdom, Buckingham Palace, was full of pomp and pageantry as Mr. President made his way in the royal carriage accompanied by the King of the United Kingdom. We'll bring you details of all of this and more. And as Joe hinted, Nigerian troops decimated ISWAP and Boko Haram terrorists in the north in a town called Malam Fatori. We'll bring you details of this and more. You're welcome to the program. I am Benga Aboroa.
All right, and in the words or in the style of Benga Aboroa, from River Nile to mile 12, from Cairo to Okokomaiko. I don't know why.
It didn't work.
I don't know why you do that thing.
It's not for everyone, my dear.
My dear.
If he didn't do, he didn't do.
If he didn't do.
Inbuilt talent.
I see.
Oh, wow.
It's AI.
Okay.
African intelligence.
I see.
It's not
Sorry,
artificial.
I leave that one. I
African.
leave that one for you.
Intelligence de Africain.
Oh, please, you guys should stop trying to laugh when I do that.
No.
From Italia to this one. From Agungi to America.
From Mushi to Mohit.
That's Joe. That's a good one. That's a very good one.
Am I now the butt of jokes? On
No, not the butt of jokes, the head of jokes.
You know what I just said? When I just started laughing, all I heard was, hello.
Okay, on a much more serious note.
All right, it's public holiday, man. It's public holiday. We just need to lighten up.
Thank you for joining us today on Breakfast Central. For the next 3 hours, we're looking through some of the biggest stories in the country. Of course, YouTube is an important place to feel your pulse. Like we say in News Central, we like to feel the pulse of the people. So feel your pulse by getting your comments via YouTube. News Central TV Live is how and where we're streaming. So run along to YouTube and start to drop your comments, and happy holidays. It's a holiday. Our Muslim brothers and sisters have been fasting, and we have now come to the end of the fast where everyone is to break bread. I don't hear that this one is not Big Salah, because anytime you ask Benga, is it the Big Salah?
No, this is not the one. This is not the one that they kill ram.
This is not it. Which one is this one?
This is the one that you eat garden egg.
It's a lie. I may be wrong, but I feel like this is the one that signifies the story in the Bible of Abraham trying to sacrifice Isaac and God providing.
The ram signifies a
sacrifice.
So it's not this.
It's not this one.
No,
it's not this one.
So they don't used to kill anything this one?
Just drink zobo and eat garden egg.
How? Okay. Anyway, congratulations and well done, and getting to the end of the fast.
Because cost of living, things are expensive. If you can't afford egg, buy garden egg.
I understand.
There's still egg in it.
Okay, if you can't eat apple, buy Adam's apple.
Exactly.
Anyway, enough of the rigmaroling. Let's start with some very good news, which we'll be bringing to you shortly. Regarding the end of the fast, I'm sure we'll all converge at Mr. Habib Aruno's house when this is done. So I'm hoping he's watching so that he can arrange for us to come. But let's start with some good news. In a major success, many would say it's a major battlefield success for Nigeria's armed forces. Troops of Operation HADIN KAI under the Joint Task Force Northeast have decisively repelled the terrorist assault on Malam Fatori in Abadam local government area of Borno State, killing no fewer than 75 Boko Haram and ISWAP fighters in a failed coordinated attack. Military authorities say the insurgents who advanced on foot and deployed armed drones in a bid to overrun military positions were met with a swift, well-coordinated and disciplined response backed by precision airstrikes from the Nigerian Air Force and allied Nigerian forces. The operation also led to the recovery of a substantial cache of weapons and the elimination of several high-profile commanders, dealing a significant blow to insurgent leadership and operational capacity in the Lake Chad region. Despite the intensity of the encounter, only 4 soldiers sustained minor injuries while troops remained firmly in control of the area, underscoring renewed confidence in the military strength and momentum in outgoing or ongoing counter-insurgency operations. So first of all, well done to our men, our gallant fighters who have made us proud, who are protecting our territorial integrity from internal and external aggression.
Absolutely.
Thank you, well done. This is such huge numbers, really. You look at the ratio of terrorists to bandits, terrorists to soldiers killed, and you can see that it's been a...
And all the recovered arms, this could have been used to kill and decimate communities. So
yes.
It's a good one from the Nigerian army. Kudos to them.
I also like the...
rest on their oars, because this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, this is a press release that was put up. It says troops of Operation HADIN KAI foiled terrorist assault at Malam Fatori, neutralized over 80 insurgents, including high-profile commanders, and went on to say, the second paragraph particularly says, having maintained full situational awareness of the better space, troops had anticipated the attack and deliberately prepared an offensive, defensive battle designed to decisively defeat and annihilate the assault elements. Through disciplined fire control, coordinated maneuver, and superior tactical execution, the attackers were engaged, disrupted, and rooted in disarray, with no fewer than 80 terrorists neutralized during the engagement. This takes the military away from what we usually hear, that the Nigerian military is always reaction. It's always reaction prone. Reactionary, everything is always, oh, it's happened already, okay, let's quickly react. But in that paragraph, they said they had anticipated, so they planned, they had the strategy put in place. And there's also a statement that these weapons that they did confiscate and were also taken away from the insurgents, they were already planning for another assault. Likely, it was rumored that it was likely going to happen within this holiday period and so on. So what they had done in Borno State was not enough. There was more. There were plans to engage in more. I want to say well done to the Nigerian military. I mean, it's not every time that they carry out these
are military-grade weapons, and you wonder where these insurgents got the financing and these weapons from.
It then, begs the question: what does ISWAP's use of these drones? What does it tell us about the advancement of terrorists? Insurgency and the digital equipments that they have, that they're using. And I mean, it's really scary to think of.
Media too.
Yes, of all of that. But then again, just to say that we applaud our military. The reports have it that, it's 75, some sources report it as 80,
70,
80 to 4.
75, 80.
And
I really hope Amnesty International is not, and human rights organizations are not going to come and talk about, the rules of engagement.
I also think let's use this media.
Terrorists actually took the fight to the military. They went to their forward operation base. So, I mean, it's not like this is a dream scenario for any military official, where you don't have civilians in between them. You have to worry about, civilian casualties. These were all battled, hardened terrorists that tried to overrun the forward operation base of the Nigerian army. And they met a superior firepower, which led to the neutralization of about 80 of them, which, I mean, quite frankly, it's a good thing. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. This was the life they signed off for, and I don't think anybody will be mourning the loss of this terrorist. We also needed to, we need the Nigerian army to ride on this momentum, to step up their fight and go into those communities where you have bandits. I mean, the audacity, the temerity, the crimes they've been committing. is just too much, and we need to bring an end to this.
Benga, let me also mention here very quickly. Okay, they did talk about this notebook that was also found. Although Nigerians, as usual, went on social media and said they do not understand why the notebook is so squeaky clean. However, the items recovered look all dusty and dirty, but that's not what we're here talking about. The notebook you see there on the screen, they said they showed planned and coordinated accounting from the insurgents, where they had written how much they're expecting, how much they spend per month, and so on and so forth. Kind of like sends a signal or an information that these guys, I mean, you're saying you're Boko Haram, you're after Western education, but of course some of those things were written in English, and it shows that you do have an educated lot amongst you who is detailing all of these accounts. It shows that they're also organized in one way or the other. But while we're talking about this morning is to show that the Nigerian military is not sleeping. The chief of defense staff, or better still, the man who we talked about yesterday may not be around. He may be in the United Kingdom. But of course, the men... Minister
of Defense, yes.
Minister of Defense as well, I beg your pardon. But of course, the Chief of Defense Staff and the men are actually putting their boots on the ground and they're getting the job done. And that's exactly what it shows. But let me also mention here that while this was going on, prior to this attack and curbing this insurgency from escalating from where it was, Bashir Ahmed, I'm sure you know him as well.
Former aide to
President, late President Muhammadu Buhari did put out a tweet, and in his tweet he did say, and I'm going to read it verbatim, he said, "I just read a disturbing report that repentant bandits killed 18 members of a vigilante group during an encounter in Jibia, local government of Katsina. This reinforces the genuine concern that many who claim repentance do so only as an opportunity to evade justice." And this kind of like stuck with me yesterday when I saw this story. This story we just took of the army's success.
In contrast to...
In contrast, exactly.
Bandits attack.
And you're starting to wonder why Nigerians have been screaming and crying and saying, do not do the rehabilitation process, because these are the same guys who have murdered families, have killed people, and all of a sudden they just turn around and say, listen, I think I made a mistake, I want to repent, forgive me. But this is the fear the Nigerians have had, and this is what he said, that those who turned around eventually have ended up killing 18 members of a vigilante group.
And even if they had, I mean, it's really sad that it is that, but even if they hadn't killed those 18 members, Nigerians had also pushed back, exactly, they had pushed back on the rehabilitation or the radicalization of these terrorists and rehabilitation into society. Why? Because if you look at it as a carrot and stick approach and say that putting boots on the ground is not the only way to win a war, there's the non-kinetic approach, which means interacting with them once they own up and drop their weapons, reintegrating them back into the society. The question now is, what is justice? This may look like some form of justice for the state as a whole, but the families, the individuals and the units that make up the state, how do you tell a person whose spouse or family member was killed by terrorists to forgive and forget? You know, they've been de-radicalized, they're now part of their society. You know, he's your brother, I love these people, we're all one big family. How? How do you make it make sense?
And from the incidents that happened yesterday, the two incidents that you just juxtaposed, I believe everybody should be in agreement now that the era of carrot and stick is over.
You think?
It's only stick only from now going on.
And Koboko.
From now till eternity, it should be stick only, because I don't understand the use of a carrot. There's a lot of injustice about it. Doesn't get the work done. Those repentant Boko Haram terrorists go on to carry attacks later. So let's take the fight to them, to the bandits, make them fear Nigerian security operatives, instill the fear of God in them, and it's the duty of the Nigerian army and security forces to send this terrorist for judgment in wherever.
Honestly.
To arrange a meeting between them. And
can't forgive them, but send them to God or let them face the courts. But we want to say once again to our army, thank you, well done. We're rooting for you, you know, we're supporting you, and we want to appreciate the endless sacrifices that you make to protect us. The numbers are incredible. I mean, for reference, U.S. Army cited a kill ratio of 10-1 in Afghanistan. So if we have about 70, some sources cite it as 80 people, 80 terrorists that were killed, and no Nigerian soldier was killed in return. Yes, 4 were injured, but no one was killed. That's an incredible ratio, and we look forward to seeing more and more situations. Did you both see the video of the young woman that was allegedly married to a terrorist? That was
they said she was claiming that they should stop killing them and all that.
I think she should be arrested too.
I think she should be arrested.
Enjoyed the proceeds of
yes.
but give good intelligence.
Anyway, while the military was doing that as well, Benga, I agree with you. She should be arrested. She has enjoyed the proceeds, and then she should come and talk where the others are
and how they organize and
accessories to the crime.
Exactly. The president is in the United Kingdom, of course, with some ministers and so on in the States visit after 37 years. But the vice president was in Borno State, the state he knows very well. Let's see what he had to say, though, after visiting family members who were victims and either had lost a family member or a loved one in the explosion.
Race on our oars until full peace and sanity is restored in Borno, the northeast, and the nation as a whole. It's a tragedy because no religion sanctions the killings of the innocent. But these demented monsters called Boko Haram, I don't even consider them as members of the human race. But be rest assured that no matter how long the night is, it must give way to the light of the dawn. We render support and succor to the bereaved families and to the sick and wounded. We have that moral obligation to support them.
All right, let's see what Nigerians are saying about the story of the Nigerian military and its successes. So far, so good. 80 terrorists neutralized and minimal casualties sounds heroic, but one has to wonder how many civilian voices are getting buried in the official narrative. Umoren is asking. Well, would wait for a detailed account, but don't forget it's still an ongoing onslaught. I honestly don't know what to say about you guys. You're doing a big job, but are underdogs to politicians. The level of political power influence on your operations is an epic embarrassment. What will it cost you to publish the names of those high-profile people? Well, he's also responding to the fact that, after that notebook was found, it shows there's a lot of support coming from different places. But then again, let's move on to more tweets very quickly. Sir Nemesis says, we appreciate you and all the heroes fighting to restore peace, but you are wrong in calling our concerns, questions, and recommendations propaganda. We're not fighting offensively, but defensively. Over 90% of terrorist confrontation has been a defensive tactic, not offensive. Once again, kudos to the Nigerian military forces and a speedy recovery to the injured soldiers, he says. And that's Nemesis saying. Well, let's see, we have more tweets. Yes, we do. This one comes from La Costra. He says, you guys did well. Thumbs up. Keep it up, please. Give them fire with the fire emoji and don't fail to show receipts like this. He goes on to say, AK says, more of this, please, with the please emojis there. The first time I actually watched the viewer's discretion advised video. He's trying to say that he was happy with the report and result. And, I mean, one would ordinarily wonder why people are so excited. They're excited because we do know what's been happening with Nigeria's insecurity. So when you see the military stepping up or the security operatives stepping up, then you know something is indeed happening. But we'll talk about that more in the course of our conversation this morning on Breakfast Central. We do have a security expert who has been working hand in hand, glove to glove with the military, and he will give us more insight into what is happening. Let's move to our next story. Our next story is one that will definitely, keep you wondering if truly sometimes some Nigerians are worth fighting for. Or better still, in the words I love to use, Nigerians are Nigeria's problem. But then again, Nigerian businesswoman Tracy Ohiri has issued a fresh apology to Nigerians in a video posted on our Instagram page, expressing regret over her earlier decision to apologize to and withdraw her case against the Minister of Works, Engineer David Umahi. The development comes after widespread public support followed her initial claims that the minister owed her over 200 million naira. for about 12 years and allegedly made inappropriate advances, allegations that later escalated into a legal dispute. The controversy drew further attention when activist Omoyele Sowore confronted the minister, questioning the reported involvement of security operatives. However, after receiving 110 million naira from Umahi, Ohiri retracted her earlier claims, allegedly a move that sparked backlash. Now, in a dramatic turnaround, her latest apology has reignited conversations around accountability, public pressure, and transparency in high-profile disputes. Let's take a look at the video, her apology video. That's what we have on the screen. Listen carefully. And then she came up again to do another video again, but take your time, just watch.
Good day, Nigerians. After proper consultation with my family, friends and legal team, and a painstaking review of events of the past weeks, I have come to the conclusion that it's important we give peace a chance. I admit that Engineer Deacon David Umahi, the former governor of the Borno State and the current Minister of Works, did not inform me that what happened to the Nigerian engineers would happen to me if I visit a Borno State. I do not know the Nigerian engineers except what I read about them on the internet and what I heard from people. I apologize to Engineer Deacon David Umahi for the embarrassment this allegation may have cost him and his family. I sincerely apologize to his family, to my own family, friends, and everyone who felt hurt and embarrassed with what happened. I never said Engineer Deacon David Umahi tied towel to meet me in a hotel room. I apologize if the allegations have been magnified and taken out of context. My family and I have decided to move on and face our lives and business. And we want everyone to respect this decision. On the issue of the contract, I admit there was no formally signed agreement between Deacon David Umahi and I. Although the job was done and delivered to his aides, they might have used the material for campaign purposes without informing him and without him knowing about it. I apologize sincerely for any misgivings that this might have cursed. Thank you so much, and God bless each and every one of us. Thank you.
That my involvement with Tracy, Nicholas, Ohiri had to do with abuse of power. The governor, the minister had no right to use the police to go and bring her from Lagos and then start harassing her. And then brought her before the minister to harass her further. Even though her lawyers were around, they didn't allow the lawyers in. So we busted into that meeting. I told the minister himself that he has no right to use police to settle personal scores. So I was not involved, and I'm not interested in how, I'm not a debt collector, how she got paid. So, but what I know, and the Nigerian people must know, that the minister admitted I was owing her money and actually paid 110 million naira to Tracy in dollars, which is a crime. He's spending dollars. I will make the revelation open if the minister challenges me. Dollars. He sent dollars to her. And if you are not owing somebody, why are you paying?
Why are you paying?
So, and they then engaged in what we had always asked for, civil resolution of the matter. It wasn't a criminal matter. And they had an agreement. And between the two of them, somebody paid, and the other person said, well, I will help you mitigate the damage that has been done. That's where I think the video came from. So it's what they call civil resolution of matters, So payment was made, and the agreement was made to say, okay, we are not fighting anymore, and I will withdraw some of my most egregious allegations against you.
Nigerians, please, I apologize. Forgive me. If Nigeria is a working country, everybody will have a voice. Everybody's voice will count.
Am I supposed to be fighting people who will use the taxpayers' money to fight me back? Am I supposed to drain my business capital that I'm using to manage my life and that of my family to fight someone in power? And at the end of the day, I might not still get justice, because even the people that will give the justice, they've built houses for them and they have them in their pockets. I had to look at what was going on, the corruption that was staring me in the face. And I have to accept an offer that shouldn't be in the first place. I'm truly very sorry. I've not been myself. I'm not happy about it. It was not easy for me. All my life, I stood firm to condemn corruption, to speak against injustice, to fight for the oppressed. So how then can I come after waiting for 12 years to go off at the end? But looking at the situation that was facing me, I had no other choice but to succumb to the offer in order to collect what is rightfully mine. Nigerians, please, let's not fail ourselves come 2027. Please, let's not fail ourselves. Let's not fail ourselves again. Come 2027. The country belongs to only Nigerian politicians and their children. The corruption is so much. The corruption is so much. Please, Nigerians, come out en masse and vote against corruption. Come 2027. I am sorry and I sincerely apologize. God bless you. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
So many things to unpack from this apology, counter-apology. And if you start to look at the story from the very beginning, the first one was the arrest and, taking her to Abuja, I believe. So the question was that the rightful way to have even instituted an action? And then there's the allegations, right? There were so many strong allegations made against the governor, or against the minister. At the time, he was governor of Borno State. In her first apology retraction video, in that video, she made reference to the fact that Dikin Umahi, engineer Dikin David Umahi, that she admits that there was no signed document, and maybe his boys did it without his knowledge. And first of all, that line, I don't understand the logic behind that line. Even if there is no signed agreement, but somebody fulfills a part of a contract that you're probably privy to, you're aware of, even if it wasn't it wasn't written down. There was a performance of the contract, an agreement of some sort. That should be, rewarded to an extent. But I think there are two areas that I want to bring out. One is the fact that she did a retraction video and now has come to do another apology video to Nigerians, because she received a great level of support from Nigerians who stood behind her, Olayemi Cardoso being one of those who spoke against the minister and demanded accountability from the minister. So when you come out and you retract the video, in fact, if you watch that clip, it felt like they were holding a book in front of her and flipping the book for her to read. Robotic, stiff, and reminds me of kind of situation we see in many cases abroad where women come out to complain of certain measures of abuse or assault, and after a while they go and withdraw it because there's been some NDA invoked. Yes, we don't do NDAs here, but there are other ways that we can, go around ensuring that we silence people. Now there's the allegation of money exchanging hands. Olayemi Cardoso has accused the minister and said if the minister dares to deny it, he will publish his proof. There's so many layers to unpack from here. But then the one more thing was the Nigerian engineers who were mentioned in this case, that there was an allegation that she was told that if she comes back to the state or if she continues with this matter, what happened to the Neyland engineers will happen to her. In case you're wondering what happened to the Neyland engineers, let's take a look at this video.
We have respect the former governor of Borno State, who is the president minister of the world. We have tried our best. We want it to be shown publicly. We have spent a lot of money. He confessed by himself to the Christian Association of Nigeria that the bodies were somewhere. We demanded for the bodies. They gave us both, set us boats. We said, okay, you are giving us boats. The boats you gave to us, we cannot identify them because they are decayed boats. Let us have an autopsy to be sure that this is our husbands. Let us have an autopsy to be sure that this is our brothers.
It was a protest that was held asking that the Minister of Works, who was at the time the governor of Ebonyi State, be called to account. There was a story of 5 engineers who have been missing: Nelson Onyeme, Ernest Ediani, Ikechukwu Ejiofor, Samuel Aneke, and Stanley Mwazulum, all employees of Neyland Construction Limited, and they were abducted in November 2021 by armed men while supervising the Abakaliki Ring Road projects in Ebonyi State. And after a while, the reports were that the family heard that they were informed that they were dead and buried, and now they're asking for an autopsy. So too many layers to unpack from there. But let's take comments on YouTube, and then we'll take comments on X. Michael says, the reference to Umahi as Deacon is the most annoying aspect of this speech. Is this not the same Umahi who said he wished it was Natasha Akpoti that accused him? Let's now head to X and take comments on
Who
X.
ordained him?
I don't know.
As deacon?
Very valid question. On social media, X, our tweets, if our producers may please share the tweets.
All right, X says, I can't honestly blame her for collecting her money. I would have done the same thing. There is no upside to her staying the course. Nigerian politicians are too shameless. You can't shame them. I bet the only reason the man was forced to settle her is probably because of the new IG. That man wouldn't let them stain his whites this early in the morning. If not, they would have, anyway. Let's see another tweet very quickly. Auntie, try. If not for Shure, who spoke out saying you collected 100 million, 110 million, by the way, no one would have known. This is just damage control. There was no need for this video. Why apologize in the first place and come again with this? I agree with you 100%.
My sentiments exactly.
I agree. Anyway, Benga, let's have your thoughts. I think we'll pause with it because of time.
Moody Snipe. What kind of name is this?
No, take your thoughts.
Okay. The previous tweets just echoed my sentiments about you're an adult. You have every right to take your money. Take it. And you said you provided some services. But trying to come back and then, apologize to Nigerians is not necessary. Nigerians understand what happened and everything you went through. So you have a right to take your money. And Nigerians also have a right to decide their opinion on this matter that has been a public issue. But, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. And if Mr. Shure didn't make it public that you had collected that money,
she wouldn't have come out.
Informed Nigerians. So that's it. But as for my personal, I'm not even invested in the matter. I just, that's it.
No concern you.
Exactly. I wish you all the best in the future.
I can imagine. Anyway, for me, I think, first of all, if she was ready to rumble, she should have been ready to rock the boat. And she did. She was ready to rumble, but she wasn't ready to go that far. And I agree with the fact that if Shure hadn't come out to say she collected 110 million, the question to her is, would she have come out to do that video? So kind of like it's a vindication to Engineer Dave Umahi, whether you like it or not. You're accusing someone, then you should have stuck to your guns and say, listen, this is what happened to the end. And then coming to cry foul, or the boy you cried wolf, and then all of a sudden you are saying Nigerians come out en masse.
So did you lie? So you told lies from that video about the most damning parts of your allegations? He came in a towel trying to sexually
Anyway.
reduce you and things like that. No.
A lot to be said, a lot to be done, but we'd like to move on now. Time for us to go straight into our major conversations. But don't forget, we're streaming live, drop a comment or two. Let's bring to you our top stories for today. Public holiday, Thursday here in Nigeria, broadcasting live from Lagos. Let's take a look at our top stories this morning. Nigeria's economy is strong, can defy global shock, CBN governor says. We'll also look at Labour Party as it fixes its date for primaries. Women's political participation, non-inclusion characterizes FCT's ecosystem. Also, FCT Minister inspects Buhari Kubwa Kuje Karu Road projects. And we have the newspapers and the front pages to look at today. So join us.
In every democracy, every voice should count, including the voices of women and vulnerable groups which remain critically underrepresented. However, since the return to democracy in 1999, women in Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory have continued to face non-inclusion in governance, representation, and the capital's political process. In this special report, Idong Joseph explores the numbers, the narratives, and the push for change ahead of the 2027 general elections. Let's take a look.
The Federal Capital Territory, Nigeria's seat of power, is home to an estimated 4.2 million people, with women making up roughly 49% of this population. However, despite these data, political representation of women remains almost invisible. Since the return of democracy in 1999, available data says that only one woman, Esther Audu, has served as chairperson of AMAC from June 1999 to April 2004, while the remaining 5 area councils have never elected a female council chair. While the ratio has been fair in the Senate, as members of the House of Representatives and as council councillors, many have tried, but only few have succeeded due to some challenges.
We know all how much election costs. And another barrier also is the cultural norm. You cannot take that away. Women are always seen as should be at the background.
Sometimes I argue it's even legal, because we do not have a legal provision in our constitution that states that certain seats should be reserved for women.
Running for election, like the position of the council chair in the FCT, can cost a female candidate up to 20 million naira. This covers nomination and expression of interest forms, campaign spending, logistics, and operational costs. And for many women, especially those without political godfathers, this price tag is a wall too high for them to climb.
I started out by using some of my business funds because then I was also into fish farming, a legal practitioner, yes. So I was able to get some funds, personal funds. And also when I started showing up strong, going to media houses, navigating the town, because all these things are not cheap when it comes to logistics to get around. Abuja is a big city.
In a country where women vote is equal, if not greater numbers than men, their absence in political representation is a contradiction which needs urgent reforms and collective will to correct.
In Rwanda, women make up 63.5% of parliament. They're the bride of not just Africa, but the bride of the world. They have the highest number of women who are in parliament. And they didn't get there by happenstance or by mistake or just letting women slug it out like the men, like we hear all the time over in Nigeria. They got there through quota systems.
Remember that at the national public hearing, we galvanized over 2.something million Nigerian votes for this bill and memorandums to be submitted in support of the bill.
With the 2027 general elections fast approaching and considering the special seats bill at the National Assembly, the question now remains whether this will be the cycle where women finally break through, or whether the momentum built in the last few months will fade away. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Nigeria's political landscape is heating up ahead of the 2027 general elections. as the Labour Party sets May the 23rd for its presidential primary. Decision announced after a high-level meeting of the party's National Executive Council signals the official start of its electoral process in line with the timetable of the Independent National Electoral Commission. But beyond the preparations, the party is also grappling with internal discipline, suspending no fewer than 25 members over alleged anti-party activities and misconduct. The development underscores ongoing tensions within the party, even as it positions itself as a key contender in the next presidential elections.
Well, to unpack these developments and what they mean for the Labour Party's chances come 2027, we're now being joined by the SSA media to the interim national chairman of Labour Party, Nadi Usman. Ken Asogwa joins us this morning. Thank you, Mr. Asogwa, for joining us.
And thank you, Nigeria. Barka di Salah to our Muslim brothers.
Very interesting. There seems to be a back and forth with the Labour Party these days. We do hear that some quarters, we heard that the interim chairman has been suspended, and then later on we hear that she wasn't suspended. And then again, we also heard that a few numbers of its members have been let go. Then we hear that they've been suspended. So what's causing this back and forth in terms of communication, in terms of news sources, and what the public should actually take?
Thank you so much. You see, there is no back and forth. And each time I have to deal with this situation, I will always have a way of indicting the media. Because without the media, that voice will not be put out there. What happened was that on the 17th of March, Labour Party had its NEC meeting where they were built to take far-reaching decisions affecting the party. So some fifth columnists within the party that got the wind of that NEC meeting decided to sit down in the comfort of their bedroom and authored a press statement that they issued out in order to downplay the news that will come out from our NEC meeting. And it was that, so they entertained themselves by saying they have sacked the national chairman of the Labour Party, Senator Nadi Usman. We all know that on the 21st of January this year, a federal high court in Abuja, in a consequential order, in an unambiguous judgment, declared that Senator Nadi Usman is the chairman of the Labour Party and directed INEC to henceforth recognize her as the chairman of the Labour Party. And INEC, in clear obedience to that court order, on the 31st of January, recognized Senator Nadi Usman as the chairman of the Labour Party and uploaded her name on their portal. And following up to that, 4 days after, INEC invited her to the quarterly meeting that INEC chairman usually has with chairmen of political parties. As I'm talking to you now, another invitation has just come for another meeting with the INEC chairman next week. Now, on what leg are these people standing? This is a clear case of impersonation. The media is clearly aware that these people are not holding any positions within the ranks of the party. But which time they issue statements, media goes to town with this statement because bad news is, it travels farther than the good news. So they went to town with the news that they had sacked the national chairman. People who don't have any capacity to take decisions whatsoever, any decision whatsoever on behalf of the party. So that was clearly what happened. But it's a disservice to Nigerians for me to sit down here and instead of telling Nigerians what the party is doing, I'll be dealing with people who want to slow us down. Because the truth is that on that day, the day before yesterday, the party reeled out a number of schedules and timetable on how we are going to go approach the next election of 2027. And it is exactly this distraction that these guys are trying to plan, so that instead of coming here to tell Nigerians what we are planning to do, I'll be coming here to defend a situation where people were alleging that they have suspended the national chairman. On the 17th of this month, just the day before yesterday, the party decided that the neck of the party approved our timetable for our primary election, and approved our timetable for the congresses beginning on the 26th. On the 26th of this month, the party will go into world congresses where the world executives will be elected. Then on the 28th will be local government congresses where the local government executives of the party will be elected. Then on the 31st of this March will be where the state congress will take place, where the state executives of the party will be elected. Then on the 11th of April will be the national convention of the party, where the leaders of the party at the highest level, that is the national working committee members, will be elected. Then the party will transmit, will be the new Electoral Act of 2026. Before the primaries of political parties, the party will transmit record of members, register of members, at least 21 days before that primary takes place. So on the 15th of April, the party will transmit, Labour Party will transmit its register of members to INEC in preparation for our primaries coming up in May, in May, just 2 months from now. So, and our national convention to elect our presidential candidate will take place on the 23rd of May. So we have reeled out our programs, and some persons don't want Nigerians to get to know about so many of these things I'm telling you, just because of the fact that they want to cause distractions, so that instead of talking about what we are doing, I'll be wasting our time dealing with a situation where some entertainers gathered in the comfort of their bedroom and decided to issue a non-existent statement. And like I said before, please, the media should help us, and people shouldn't be attaching appellations to themselves, and people will be, and the media will be validating it. It's very, very unfair to the Labour Party.
Okay, just to wrap things up concerning that question I asked, who are these people that you are talking about? And I also hope you know that whatever comes to the media, I mean, I'm not speaking for all the media houses, but of course, we're all one, has to come from a high authority, rather. So, who are these people that are perpetrating and representing the Labour Party, and why haven't the Labour Party itself put out a complete joint statement to debunk these claims? But first of all, who are these people? Do you want to name them here so we can have it on ground authority so we know how to move further?
Well, the people, I'm happy that in your intro you said that we have suspended 25 persons. It's actually 26. There were actually 26 in number. And the people are already named. The press statement that was released yesterday by the party, their names are contained in the press statement. And I don't need to dignify them by mentioning these names. And they are being sponsored by the former chairman of the Labour Party, Barrister Julius Abure. Everybody knows that. So the people we are dealing with here, the 26 of them, their names are mentioned in the press statement that the party issued yesterday. So these are not hidden names. They are not ghosts. Nigerians know who they are. And some of them participated in the invasion of the National Secretariat. They desecrated our National Secretariat on the 10th of February. And some of them, their names are contained in that press statement that was released yesterday. And as we are talking today, we have written a clearly worded petition to the DSS and to the Nigerian police. They will be picked up very soon, because this is a clear case of impersonation. We have written to them using our lawyer, because even our social media handles are in their hands. We have written to them using our lawyers and say, look, this social media handle belongs to the Labour Party. And the court has clearly said that this is the leadership of the Labour Party. This is the impunity we are dealing with here. In clear case of impunity we are dealing with. Submit these social media handles to the right leadership of the party. And they are confusing Nigerians, churning out all manner of negative information from those social media handles. But as God will have it, our petitions are receiving serious attention by the authorities. And I'm sure they will be picked up very soon.
Okay. All right. Let's speak about your presidential primary. Congratulations on fixing an early date. Talk to us about why the party decided to fix an early date for the primary.
Why the party decided for an early date?
Yes, and your expectations for the presidential primary.
Well, on the question about early dates, it's not really early, because if you have ever taken a look at the INEC timetable, you just know that we are working with INEC guidelines and the timetable that they've issued out. So any party who wants to participate in the next presidential election has to be within that window. They have to operate within the window that INEC has opened. So, and coming to our expectations, yes, Labour Party, in the last presidential election, we garnered more than 6 million votes. And we didn't win that election even when we claimed to have, but when we got to court, we were not able to authenticate the victory that we said we had. So, but, the party went back into drawing board of realizing what cost us that presidential election. And we have been able to fix it. And, in the build-up to the last presidential election, they were saying that we didn't have structure. And we took it for granted. Honestly, it cost us that presidential election because in so many places, we have 176,000 polling units in Nigeria. And Labour Party did not have up to 50 polling agents cutting across Nigeria during that election. The 6 million votes that was recorded for us, those votes were recorded based on the insistence of good-spirited Nigerians who stood by and said that the vote cast for Labour Party must be recorded for them. But in going into this particular election, we are not going to rely on the intentions of passers-by who might want to, so because we have learned our bitter lessons in what happened the last election. So we've got to rebuild our structure. Labour Party is the biggest political party in Nigeria, and I'm not saying this flippantly. I'm telling you, it is provable. The truth is that we ignored the organized labor in the last election, and it cost us that victory. There's no polling area in Nigeria that doesn't have either a retired worker or a serving worker, and they're all members of the Labour Party. Labour Party is a unique party in the sense that NLC, TUC, they are institutional members of the Labour Party. But we failed to utilize that. But the current leadership today has gone back to marry the NLC and the TUC. As a matter of fact, Labour Party was registered in 2003 by the NLC. The certificate of registration of Labour Party with INEC is still in the hands of NLC. But the past leadership decided to neglect them because they never were interested in winning the election. They deceived our former presidential candidate and told him that NLC and TUC didn't matter. And he went there and it cost us that victory. Now we have decided to go back to marry them, and we will use them as our polling agents across the 176,000 polling units in Nigeria. And our expectation is that we are going to present a credible presidential election, a presidential candidate who is going to win that election for the good of Nigerians.
And who would you say are your likely suggestions for this? Because there's been the argument about ever since His Excellency Peter Obi left the Labour Party, the concerns and the wonder has been, who else will the Labour Party select, and will the person be able to wield the influence that His Excellency Peter Obi was able to wield at the last elections?
No, I can't preempt that, honestly, because
give us likely options.
Go through democratic
we don't know
process.
one, but give us likely options.
I can't mention it because the party does not have anybody that they want to endorse. So they want to throw it open for Nigerians to come in, members of the party to come in. So whoever wins the day will carry the. But I can assure you that that very many Nigerians of note have signified interest in picking our form to contest the presidency of Nigeria. So okay. I have to stop at that.
Nigerians of note not within the party.
Sorry?
Nigerians of note not within the party.
Well, people, when you say people are members of the party, there are people who are members of the Labour Party that have not advertised their membership. So they are members of the party, of course. You can't contest primaries of our party if you are not a member. And even by the INEC guidelines now and the new electoral act, by the time we transmit our membership register to INEC on the 15th of April, if you didn't register before then, our registration process is still ongoing, our portal is still open, and it will be open till the 14th of April when we print it and submit to INEC. So anybody who didn't register within this window, it will, by the new electoral act, the person would have been shut out from participating in the election. But like I said, it is not everyone who is a member of the party that advertises his or her membership.
Now, Mr. Asogwa, I just wanted to press on and follow up with the question my colleague asked. Critics of your party would say that since Peter Obi left, that you might not get to the dizzy heights of 2023, where Your presidential candidate won 12 states in the federation, in the presidential elections. How do you respond to that? Would you be able to match or even surpass the popularity and the heights that Labour Party got to in 2023 without the obedient movement and the persona of His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi?
I can't close my eyes to the fact that his departure from the party, it left a form of, I don't know the appropriate word to use here, but he left with a significant number of people who believe in his ideals. We can't shy away from that fact, that reality. But the party preempted his departure. We knew that he was going to leave because before he left, the rumor was already there that he was going to leave. And he left on the 31st of December. And on the 17th of December, we launched our registration, our revalidation and registration exercise. And it was launched on the 17th of December of last year. And that exercise is being headed by the Deputy Governor of Abia State. So we envisaged his departure, and we took time to put up a number of measures that can help us absorb that shock. As a matter of fact, we will present credible Nigerians. Peter Obi is not the only, he brought a lot of fortunes to the party, but he's not the only credible person in Nigeria to be the president of Nigeria. He is a population of 250 million people. So we will assure Nigerians that we will present a credible Nigerians. At least you guys can attest to the fact that in 2023, Labour Party presented a credible Nigerian. So the same way we had hunted for P2B, we will headhunt credible Nigerians as well, who will fill in the gap for us when the time comes.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Ken Asogwa. We look forward to having more conversations with you this morning.
So many things to unpack. And I'm glad it's coming at the heels of our just concluded conversation with Mr. Ken. I'm sure he has a lot of things to say.
The court has already, the court has spoken, the law has spoken, and the law has made it clear that the embattled former chairman, because he's now a former chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Aburi, is no longer in charge of the affairs of the party. Rather, the court has upheld its initial decision of having the Nadi Usman-led, chairmanship to be in charge of the Labour Party. So Mr. Ken, who came in, spoke about how so far so good the media is being controlled. And I was quite interested. I mean, I wish I had another opportunity to ask him the question, how the social media handles have not been gotten back by the Nadi Usman team, but rather it's left in the hands of the former chairman, because he's saying that they are controlling the narrative. And that's more reason why the media is a bit skeptical, because the media is not just one-eyed, as it were. We also have to be able to look at the stories as they come. And if it's coming from an authorized source, which happens to be your own social media handle, then you should be able to have put out a press statement to say, listen, we're no longer in charge. And I think you should also go to court.
Disregard anything that comes out of this.
Exactly. Yeah. Because what we see is what we take. And not every journalist, I'm not sure they're able to reach all journalists. I only received the press release from Arabambi's faction, that's Julius Aburi faction. I've hardly received anyone from the Nadi-led faction or the chairman of the Labour Party. And sometimes you can't even reach her. I think I should also say that here. I've tried calling the Labour Party chairman, the Nadi Usman, many times. I've only gotten one response, and where she says, okay, I'll get back to you. And how do you get back to a journalist who is interested in trying to balance his story? And then I barely receive any press release, even from her press.
To be more forthcoming. Yeah.
Be more forthcoming. You have the press, you have the journalists. We're there. We're reaching out to you to say, listen, we got this from this source. We do understand what the law says. We agree that your name is now on the INEC portal officially. So, therefore, can you react to this source? Can you clarify what is going on? Just this week, they had mentioned that her herself, that's, I'm talking about the chairman,
Usman,
has been suspended from the party. There were also stories of, okay, back and forth. And he's saying that these are people who are perpetrating these acts from underground.
Very important. And it will be nice to hear from Mr. Arabambi. Let's try and see if we've reestablished connection with Mr. Arabambi. Are you there?
Oh. All right.
Okay. We seem to have difficulties trying to connect with him, and hopefully we'll do so. But just to take turns, for those who have followed the Labour Party and those who have followed the Obedient movement, I think the Obedient movement have been able to separate themselves from the Labour Party of recent. They've highlighted that the Obedient movement is a movement. It follows the principle, as it were, Mr. Peter Gregory will be anywhere he goes. So, in other words, it's not tied to a political party, and it's clear that the Obedient movement has moved to the ADC. But I did put out a tweet, guys, and I asked 2 months ago, particularly last month, no, in January, I beg your pardon, when the court upheld Nadi Usman as the interim chairman of the Labour Party. And I asked a question, and I said, now that she's chairman of the Labour Party, it pretty much seems like the storm is over within the party. Does this mean that Mr. Peter Gregory will be going back to the party? However, here's a twist, and I looked at it. Just recently, there's the issue of dual membership that has been approved, signed into the Electoral Reforms Act. And that simply means that you cannot belong to this party, and then all of a sudden, you jump ship and go to another party in a stipulated period of time. Meaning that once you've registered, you cannot leave, you already know for that party. Mr. Peter Gregory has registered his interest, and he has officially come out as an ADC
He has equally said he's not leaving the party, regardless of what happens at the primaries.
But what happens? Remember the primaries also, people are also angry that, I mean, some persons are angry that INEC has adjusted its timetable, and the timetable is not looking suitable to other political parties. What do I mean? Simply means that if you do not present your presidential candidate at a stipulated time or number of days, 130 days counting, then you will not be able to quickly say, oh, wait, okay, I'm not the member, I'm not the presidential candidate here, like it used to be before. Okay, let me opt out and quickly go for shopping, party shopping. So that has kind of like, you know, stopped that. The point here is, should Mr. Peter Gregory lose out on being the presidential...
He already said he's not leaving.
Wait now, I'm just going somewhere, lose out. It simply means that he's not able to jump ship. And in my question in January on X, I said, now that the Labour Party is now good and fair, will he go back and say, hey, here I am again? But that's a difficult thing to do, I want to believe.
But why don't you want to take his word for...
No, I'm just... Benga, these are politicians.
When the politician says good morning, go outside to go and check.
It doesn't matter who
the
they
moon
are.
may be out.
They are all politicians.
I just don't go outside. I also use Google.
Honestly, once they say good morning, go outside. The moon may still be out. But I want to also speak to what you had mentioned about the fact that they were, as part of the electoral reforms, they were trying to push for the criminalization of dual membership of political parties. The key focus should not have been that. The key focus should have been that we enforce the fact that when you get into an office
you cannot
with the vehicle of a political party or through the vehicle or instrument of a political party, the day you decide you want to jump ship, you abandon that office and by-elections are conducted again for that office. Then maybe we would have put, and I understand the concept of trying to prevent jump shipping, cross-carpeting because of political interest or the need to not completely have by-elections. But if you know that you were elected to be senator representing a geographic location of the country, if you don't, you get there and you decide you want to move, then you should probably be made to leave that political position. Let's now get back into the conversation. We have Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, who's connected with us. Speak to us about the internal unity in the Labour Party at this very critical time.
Thank you very much. I heard that young man saying something about the Federal High Court judgment. We want to say clearly that that judgment has been appealed and motion for stay of execution filed via our respected lawyer, Chief Wole Olanipekun, in the Court of Appeal now. And I want to make it instantly clear to Nigeria that people who doesn't know Nigerian law should not be misinterpreting what the Constitution says. Now, in the Supreme Court decision in Ojo Koloba versus Adamu Afolabi and Governor for your state, it stated that cardinal principle of law that the statute operates prospectively unless it is made to do so by clear express stamp. That is the Supreme Court decision. Again, he said in Afolabi, Pastor Governor of your state, the statutes are to be interpreted as only applied to cases or situations which come into existence after their past, unless a restorative effect is intended. But this is forbidden for criminal matters. What do I mean by this? That judgment of the Federal Court cannot supersede judgment of Supreme Court that says when the judgment is given, you cannot nullify what has been done before legally. But what is the Nadi doing yesterday? We saw her abrogating herself in a position of the Senate President, or let me say legislator judiciary, where she had the effrontery to put a gavel in her presence, in her front, and she was even eating the gavel as she was making, her unconstitutional pronouncement. That is the kind of governance these people want to introduce to Nigeria. Number two, when you file an appeal and motion for sale of execution, and the litigant is also in receipt, you cannot execute that judgment. It is also a Supreme Court decision. Lawyers are listening to me. The Chief Justice of Nigeria listens to me. When I come on here, I come with facts. If any one of them want to challenge me, let us go to the studio and let them come with their facts. What they have done yesterday, INEC wrote a letter to them, which he refused to tell you. 16th of February, they wrote to the caretaker chairman, re-notification of the dissolution of all state, local government, and ward executive member, and constitutional interim working committee. Your letter on the above subject matter, dated 6th of February 2026, and received on the 10th of February by the commission, that is INEC. The commission regrets to inform you that the dissolution of the state, local government, and ward executive of your party in all the 36 states and FCT by the NEC without giving statutory notice of meeting to the commission and without the authority to act in your party constitution cannot be acceded to. This is INEC letter. Signed, Dr. Rose.
So Mr. Rabambi,
that is the secretary to the commission of INEC.
Mr. Rabambi,
the letter they wrote to this, bunch of people who together yesterday were now making pronouncements about
Mr. Rabambi, unfortunately,
yes,
it hurts us to know that we're out of time with this conversation. We hope network was a bit fair so we can have this conversation, extensively.
A robust one.
A robust one. So maybe you would grant us another time to speak on this, because there are many questions we want to ask. Justice Peter Lifu had rallied on the April 2025, pronouncement that came from the Supreme Court, which actually made him uphold Senator Enenali Usman, former Minister of Finance, as the Labour Party chairman. The Supreme Court, that's what he upheld. So you're saying that Supreme Court is of course, we all know is the apex court, but that is what he upheld. So which of the Supreme Courts are you talking about? That's one. Two, there are many other questions to ask, such as the one you've also put forth, and the one the former guest also said, the social media handle portraying other messages while they're also sharing other ones. But time would not avail us the opportunity to speak deeply on these things.
Supreme Court did not announce Nenadi as chairman. You see, we should be careful about what we say. What Justice Lifu did was to review the judgment of Supreme Court, which is wrong in Constitution. Justice Lifu decided to just, he just decided to please,
he just decided
his own customer. And that was why.
But you don't just decide in Supreme Court now. You follow the law. Anyway.
No. Supreme Court did not. No. You see, a federal court cannot review the judgment of the Supreme Court. If Supreme Court has removed Abure, INEC ought to have acted. But Justice Lifu, in his own wisdom, which I said we have, contacted as our lawyer, Chiwole Oladipekun. All of you know is an erudite and, a fearless, a lawyer. We will meet them in the Court of Appeal. Let them come and explain on whose authority a federal court judge will now be reviewing the judgment of the eminent justice of the Supreme Court. He lacked the power, he lacked the authority, and that is what we have challenged in the Court of Appeal.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I just checked again. I think on the INEC portal, I can see a different name on the INEC portal as Labour
No
Party
problem
chairman.
about that.
I don't know.
was
So that
the
means
judgment
INEC
of
has
people they had.
recognized somebody as INEC chairman. And the name I see here is Nenadi Usman. I didn't see Julius Abure, so I don't understand what we're saying. But grant us another opportunity to speak with you, please, if you may.
No problem.
And when we reach out, would like to speak with you on this. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you and good morning.
Good morning. All right, we'll go on a quick break. When we come back, Breakfast Central continues. Welcome back. In a major battlefield success for Nigeria's armed forces, troops of Operation HADIN KAI under the Joint Task Force Northeast have decisively repelled a terrorist assault on Malam Fatori in Abadam local government area of Borno State, killing no fewer than 75 Boko Haram and ISWAP fighters in a failed coordinated attack.
Military authorities say the insurgents who advanced on foot and deployed armed drones in a bid to overrun military positions were met with a swift, well-coordinated and disciplined response backed by precision airstrikes from the Nigerian Air Force and allied Nigerian forces. The operation also led to the recovery of a substantial cache of weapons and the elimination of several high-profile commanders, dealing a significant blow to insurgent leadership and operational capacity in the Lake Chad region. Joining us for this discussion is security consultant Patrick Agbamu. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. All right, he'll be joining us much later in the conversation. But we'll take a very, very quick break, and when we come back, we'll be introducing our next guest to continue the conversation.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, says Nigeria's economy is now more resilient and better positioned to withstand the global shocks following ongoing financial and monetary reforms, speaking at the Africa Capital Forum in London during President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's state visit to the United Kingdom. Cardoso noted that the Apex Bank has implemented disciplined policies aimed at restoring investor confidence and strengthening the financial system. He disclosed that efforts are underway to create a more predictable policy environment, reduce uncertainty and improve transparency, particularly in the foreign exchange market where liquidity has improved.
On banking reforms, Cardoso revealed that over 30 banks have met new capital requirements, with about 28% of funds coming from foreign investors, signaling renewed global confidence. He added that the diaspora remittances have increased, supporting foreign exchange reserves. The CBN governor further highlighted improved coordination between monetary and fiscal authorities, a decline in inflation, and greater exchange rate stability. Stated that Nigeria is transitioning from economic stabilization to growth driven by investment and reforms. Well, let's have our guest join us now. Economist and development expert Aliyu Ilias joins us this morning. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Aliyu Ilias.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning. Very interesting conversation there. I mean, I also stumbled yesterday on a Nairametrics special yesterday where we did see Mr. Wale Edu also speaking deeply about how the economy is doing, the reforms, how it's working. But I think it would be unjust for us not to speak on the many questions every single Nigerian is asking. Just now, the economic reform is working. They say it's improving, and now we're on a driven state of improving Nigeria's economy with investors. Can you share with us very quickly what you think about this statement and the current pressures that we find ourselves in economically? Can we say that investor-driven economy will actually help us to stand out?
Right. So looking at the statements made by the CBN governor, I think, well, you know, it's good to be optimistic. Perhaps is at the end of our fear, you need to speak his own, you know, blow his trumpet per se. We say, yes, they have done so well to some extent, but to say that we can actually withstand the global shock or what have you, I don't think that is correct. Because you recall, let's even chronicle it for Fourth Republic. Remember, we have what we call a financial crisis. Global financial crisis in 2008, and I'm sure it's banking reform that actually helped. Maybe that is where that actually helped us to reduce the effect, not that we did not experience it. Then we also later have 2014 oil crisis, what have you, I think we could say yes, we actually felt that much. Recently, we have COVID of 2020. Remember, we had serious FX issue, the economic contraction was there. Even recently, we have 2022 to 2024. Remember, we have an issue of high inflation globally. Even currently, we are having war effects on different things. So for him to say we will, it's enough to actually do that, I don't think it's correct. And what premise am I saying it? Yes, Nigeria have the ability to adapt, as in the citizens of Nigeria have the capacity to adapt to situations. But in terms of economy, I can tell you there's any international global shock, we are going to have our economic struggle. And why are we going to have economic struggle? Is that you agree with me that we'll have weak naira. Weak naira is a serious problem, and we also have FX dependence. You agree with me? We also have debt on debt servicing. When you are owing and there's global shock, you feel it through that area. And we're also over dependence on oil. So these are the things, we don't have a lot of diversification that can help us locally to actually meet up the shock. Imagine what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz, having effect on our pump price. That shows that we are not actually there to withstand any global shock.
Now, Dr. Aliyu Ilias, looking at the current situation of what's happening in the world and the government's reforms last year, the president said we've turned the corner, and many people have testified to some of the positives, the stability that we've gained in this administration. But the events in the Middle East have a way of upturning every gain that we've seen. Some have even said we better start planting in our backyards, and also looking to adopt renewable energy. Just yesterday, the world's largest natural gas field was bombed by Israel in Iran, sending crude oil prices upwards. So how far do you think these reforms will go vis-a-vis the events in the Middle East?
Right. So in as much as we have gained a lot of macroeconomic advantage, which are good reforms, we have also seen unprecedented reform by this government. I can tell you that that reform has not yet actually trickled down. Perhaps the last time, you agree with me that the cost of transportation still remains the same thing. If you notice the cost of commodities still going up. You've also noticed the last NBS release, even though the inflation is coming down, you see that the food component of it is actually going up. That's a signal that we have to be careful. Then on the issue of what's happening in Iran, it's a serious contradiction that we are oil producing country, and while the war is going on, crude oil is appreciating, the price is coming up, but sadly, Nigerians are also paying higher pump price. That's a serious contradiction. I can tell you 10 better economies in Africa have not yet adjusted their pump price simply because they have a shock absorber, such as they have a lot of buffer in their stock that they can actually lay their hand to in the next 3 months, 4 months. But any shock at all in the global community, you see that it actually affects us. So the reform must also create a lot of absorber that will be used to absorb. Yes, the reform is good. We have good macroeconomic indicators. Our NPR is coming down gradually. We also have our foreign reserve, very, very robust. But we must come down to look at it. How does it trickle down? Exactly. Is it going to be able to actually meet up the shock? These are the things we must look at. But for me, I think government needs to do more to actually withstand those external shock. A good example is what's happening at pump price.
All right, we'll continue the conversation, but we need to take a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll explore further. Stay with us. Back to the conversation. We're still speaking with Mr. Aliyu Ilias, and we are exploring the statement made by CBN regarding where we are as a nation. Before we went on the break, you had talked about how the government needs to do more to ensure that the improvements we've seen trickles down to the everyday man. Because the honest truth is we can start to talk about the numbers, FX stability, how much is in the foreign reserves, and look at some of the positive sides of the things that have turned out right. But the everyday man is just listening to that and saying this is just semantics. So what else does the government need to put in place to ensure that this actually trickles down to the everyday man?
Of things going to be put in place. Do you recall that before we get to this stage. Government talked about provision of CNG, which is compressed natural gas. And we are thinking that if this actually trickle down very well to reflect in our transportation, we will less dependent, on petroleum products. We must also give the current government administration this. I actually converted my own car to CNG. I can tell you that actually to some level we can work with ease to CNG stations and actually buy it. But imagine why it does not reflect in the cost of transportation. Perhaps not because we are in the city center, we are seeing more. It does not actually permeate and go down to the the nooks and crannies. Another thing is that the capital, the NPR must also come down because it appears the government is sacrificing growth to fight inflation. So we must also look at that critically. Another thing is that we could see that government also have more money given to states. We've not actually seen the reflection of this. So I would advise the federal government to have a policy that will trickle down from federal government to states to local government. Example is when President Olusegun Obasanjo was there, we have what we call NUG that translates to seed in the state and translate to lead in local government. So if you can have a uniform economic planning that can bring more development, I think that will reflect. Perhaps government would give a direction that spends so amounts on agriculture. You must do all-round season farming. I think that will help more because with the sign that we are seeing globally, that simply means the next inflation report will definitely go up because once the fuel pump price increases, it affects every other commodities.
Okay. All right. Let's look at the statements made by the CBN governor. First off, would you say it's a realistic statement? Because there seem to be some unforeseen setback. Some of the setbacks we've seen has got to do with the forex fluctuation. Today it's this price, tomorrow is this price. And do recall that when the president was looking at the fiscal allocation, the budget, they did use a fixed amount, which was, I think, 1,800. My memory seems to fail me. You may correct me if I'm wrong. But now we see there's some fluctuations here and there. That's one. Two, some of the setbacks as well could also include maybe a slow integration of agriculture, which you just mentioned. And then we also looked at the CNG, which hasn't done pretty much well, like we've seen. And now we're battling with power issues. So small businesses, MSMEs, they're struggling as well. Do you think with all of these unforeseen setbacks, the CBN governor is being realistic with this statement?
Right. So for me, I think it's not realistic because he's not looking at structural problems. When you look at the structural problem, we are very weak to actually understand those things. And that's why I said, in terms of adaptability, Nigeria actually adapt to different situations. But in terms of economy is going to struggle because of the structural problem. One of the structural problems is deficit infrastructure itself. For people to actually try, you have to do more in terms of infrastructure. Then you talked about FX. Honestly, we are not where we're supposed to be. That we are hovering around 1,300 to 1,400. It is not where we're supposed to be, and that you have stability does not make economic growth. Stability is a different thing from economic growth because you're supposed to use stability to actually, bootstrap to economic, growth. And how do we achieve that? Is by having this FX, current price coming down to at least 1,000 or less than 1,000. And that's because there's what we call deflator. No matter what you do, no matter how you try to work on the economy, the deflator of that value of naira is a serious problem. Just example, when you look at our GDP, we are number 5, but that's very, very high. But because of that, deflator is a serious issue that is actually affecting us. So these are the things that we need to actually do more. So government must work on the change pattern of business that we're actually doing. Government must also invest heavily in the manufacturing sector. If you look at the manufacturing sector, most people, MSME manufacturing sector, we cannot go get money in bank simply because the interest rate is very, very high. And to have a meaningful economic growth, you must look at that. Let me clarify this further. Recall that if you look at our economy, service sector is taking the lead. I want to talk about service sector, talks about people that have shares and the banks. So if you look at that, it's not enough for us to have economic growth. But if we have our mainstay of the economy, we are agrarian in nature, if you have the agriculture taking the lead in GDP, we have the industrial sector taking the lead, that's where you can only get the expected economic development, because this will engender more employment, this will bring more purchasing power this will stimulate the economy the more. So we must do more to make sure that people have access to capital. We must reduce our interest rates. We must make MSME thrive. Imagine as an MSME business person, I have the opportunity of employing 2, and we have about 30 million MSME in Nigeria. For instance, imagine the double, advantage that would bring about employment. So government must do the needful and stop glorifying the level we are. We must do more to actually deepen the economic advantage to the benefit of Nigerians.
Now, talking about economic advantage to the benefit of Nigeria, I want us to look at some figures now. I'm talking about borrowing. Nigeria's total public debt stood at 153 trillion naira, roughly $100 billion in 2025. And projections suggest it's pushing closer to 200 trillion. But the federal government is about to spend 9.8 trillion naira in servicing debt. That's nearly 72% of what we've earned. How much damage does this do to, what are the implications of this to the Nigerian economy? Spending such a huge chunk of your earnings on debt servicing, how much will be left for development and capital projects?
Right. You will recall that I made mention that one of the problems we are going to have in actually maintaining or managing the shock, global shock, if anything eventually comes. We pray not to see any force majeure, any act of God. It's the problem of our debt servicing. Now, if you look at even the budget component itself, if you look at the budget component, 15% is going to use to service debt, 15% for about current expenditure, and looking at about 26% for infrastructure. I must tell you this, remember, debt servicing is an obligation that as of January 1, you must start, meeting up the obligation. So we don't have choice in terms of servicing debt. You also recall that the current expenditure, government must start it after January 1, even though they have to go to CBN to get ways and means to service it. But in terms of capital expenditure, that is where we have the problem. You can even see that last year, 30% was achieved and 70% rollover. The rollover itself, the budget has not been passed. So it's a serious issue. And what does Nigeria actually benefit? Majority of Nigerians, like 80% of Nigerians, benefit only from this capital expenditure, because that's what will give us our social infrastructure, like education, like road, like health, and among others. So now, if we are now using our 72% of our revenue to service debt, that simply means nothing left for capital projects. And you recall the last time the president presented budget to National Assembly, he also said he checked back that we could not even implement, our capital expenditure. We have also seen the Minister of Health coming out that he doesn't get a lot of subvention enough to actually meet up his capital expenditure. That simply means that the federal government, the National Assembly must start prioritizing what benefits the entire Nigeria, not the current that benefit them and people that are actually working within government. So we must start looking at that. So to really actually buttress what you said now, we will not be able to meet up global shock, which we don't pray for one, if we cannot actually manage this debt that we are actually having. We can have different principles of managing these debts. You can do debt buyback. You can use a lot of policies to actually manage the debt. But the fact is that we must actually find a way to reduce the level of our debt. As an economist, to borrow is not bad because we have top 5 economists in the global community that are much more indebted. But what we are using it for is what actually counts. We must also account for our subsidy removal. The more money, before we shared 600 billion, now we're sharing about 2.1 trillion. So what is the result of all this? So we must manage the way we do it. And I will call on the National Assembly in conclusion on this issue of debt servicing, that National Assembly must start doing their work and make sure that it's not every borrowings that they will put pen and paper on. They must also start looking at the state government to the level of their borrowing. Now they have more money, why are they still borrowing? So National Assembly must do their business.
That's a very good question to ask. I mean, the National Assembly needs to do their work, needs to take a look at every single borrowing before they actually approve it. But before we go on a quick break, I wanted to also mention that part of the suggestions or the celebrations coming from the Central Bank of Nigeria has got to do with the NGX. Just a few days ago, it reached its milestone that it's never reached before, over 200,000 points ever. I mean, for the first time, a long time ago. I'm sure you're aware of that as well. What could be responsible for reaching this milestone in the Nigerian exchange? And most importantly, what does this mean for investor confidence, seeing that BOA Group was also leading and the likes?
Right, I think it's a good one. If you recall, when I start the analysis, I said have more of the service sector thriving. Our service sector is actually thriving because of the stock and because of the banking, strength and what have you. It's a good one that will have such, and that will bring a lot of confidence to investors. You recall that there's a reform in that area too that brings about more confidence and gives even confidence to actually invest. You recall that even the international community are looking at how stock is doing because of portfolio investment. They can be in their country, pump money there, and actually, so it's a good one. But for me, I think as well as we are doing well in that service sector, we should ensure that we also do well in the agricultural sector, get a good mechanized farming system, and also do well in our industrial sector. If we have only service sector doing well, and we're not having manufacturing sector, we're not having agricultural sector, it's a serious problem, and it's a niche that we must manage. If not, it will bring more setback, because those ones cannot bring the real economic growth. They cannot bring the real employment that we expect. They cannot stimulate the economy as we expected.
All right, Mr. Aliyu Ilias, thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. We've enjoyed speaking with you now, and we look forward to connecting with you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We're now going to a very quick break, and when we come back, there's more conversations happening this morning. Please stay with us.
In a major battlefield success for Nigeria's armed forces, troops of Operation HADIN KAI under the Joint Task Force Northeast have decisively repelled the terrorist assault on Malam Fatori in Abadam local government area of Borno State. We looked at this earlier on when we started the show on Wake Up Conversations. It's now time to look deeper into what led to the success and what Nigerians should know about the repelling done by the Nigerian military, the army in general. Joining us, we do have security consultant Patrick Agbamo joins us this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We're aware that you work very closely. Also, you've been in consultation for the Nigerian army as well. And we've seen some of the very interesting stories emanating from the battlefront. How significant is this operation in terms of being a broader fight against ISWAP and Boko Haram?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it's quite significant because it's a plan that has been going on. I know that for some weeks now, the ISWAP had increased their attacks in various forms. But the Nigerian Armed Forces, led by the Nigerian Army, had continued to re-strategize and change the tactics because this period, the ISWAP were capitalizing on having people gather, and towards the evening period after the breaking of fast, a lot of people gather in a particular place. So they were strategizing to be able to prevent it. And one of those things is to take the fight into their enclaves. Some of these terrorists live within the community themselves and mix up with the communities, and that actually informed the meeting yesterday by the service chiefs with the people of Borno and Yobe states calling for support. So it's a strategy that has been in place, working to ensure that once and for all, the ISWAP group, just as Boko Haram has been taken care of decisively, the ISWAP group can also be downgraded, if not incapacitated totally.
Can or will? Do you see the possibility of them being incapacitated totally? First of all, I do say that our armed forces have done a fine job and we're very impressed with them, but you say that this shows that ISWAP can be totally decimated. Do you think there's a possibility that would, in the nearest future, be done with this?
Yeah, there's a possibility, but it also requires not just a military action, not the military doing the work. And in fact, military action is just a lower percentage of it, or just about 25%. The people themselves have to agree that we need to ensure that this will don't continue creating problems for us, because they are the victims. The citizens in those areas, Nigerians generally must own the fight, and that is the thing. It's only when there is a whole of society approach and the whole of government approach that you can be able to say, yes, we will. The Nigerian forces working together with the Nigerian people will be able to totally incapacitate ISWAP group, and that is for sure. And it's working towards that because strategies are being put in place. This is the last push they are trying to make, because they've found out that the energy has become more stronger, and so they are trying to make some statements that they can still do something. But with the will of the people, that I believe that it's very soon they can be taken care out of our society.
Now, Mr. Agbamu, looking at the incident, the attack on Boko Haram terrorists, attacking the forward operation base in Malam Fatori, the report says about 60 to 80 of these terrorists were neutralized. Do we have any information if there are any high-valued terrorists amongst them, any of their commanders or brains behind some of these attacks, or were they all just foot soldiers?
And they were not just foot soldiers. Some commanders were among them, and as we speak, more information is being gathered to be able to find out who in specific terms, because, you know, the operation of in the last 2 days is still ongoing as we speak, and they are widening the scope of operation to other areas, and even up to the Tumbus area, towards the Lake Chad and all those areas, and also going towards the Mandara Mountains and all those, to be able to clean up the whole areas. Yeah, some of these terrorists, I don't have some of the names now, but I got the information in confidence from Borno State that at least 4 of their commanders were involved, and you know, some of the exhibits, things recovered from them actually tells that these are not just foot soldiers; these are leaders, because some figures of records of payments and all that were discovered from them. And so I believe strongly that between in 2 days' time, we will get more information and more action will take place.
Just to follow up, you said operations are still in place. Is this a defensive or offensive operation? Because what we hear is that the terrorists took the fight to the Nigerian army in their forward operation base, and now you're saying the scope of the operation has been expanded. So is the Nigerian army now taking an offensive position against these terrorists and bandits?
Yeah, yes, I can tell you that for sure, that what is happening now is an offensive operation. I agree that the situation that happened is quite unfortunate, that the incident of the bombing in Maiduguri, but there is one area which is also being looked into very critically, that as the armed forces are liberating and pushing these people further out, the civil police must also brace up to the responsibility to provide civil security for the people. The armed forces cannot be burdened fully in while doing their offensive operations, coming back again to carry out the civil security arrangements. That is creating a lot of problem and distraction for the armed forces. But with the renewed synergy working, and which is part the jointness that is being preached within the security sector right now, that is being done, and is giving the Nigerian army and all the armed forces the impetus, the push to go offensive, and which is what has started.
Also, there are reports of the use of drones by these insurgents. Let's talk about the military equipment that these insurgents have, access to. What do we say about first of all, where they're getting their equipment from, and what can be done to ensure that we're not seeing, you know, a constant perpetuation. Because unfortunately, if you remember the kidnap case that came to the media recently, they're asking for monies, they're asking for bikes, and it looks like all of this is going back into terrorist ammunition. So what do we do to ensure that we strip them of this ammunition?
Yeah, what we should do, and which is what is being done, and is to be able to get the society to buy into this fight. It's not the Nigerian forces or the Nigerian sector fight alone. There are a lot of collaborators among the citizens that are helping, giving energy to this push. Different sectors of Nigeria is giving energy to this terrorist group, and that is what is still strengthening and pushing them. Getting equipment, you know that as we speak, the Sahel is in disarray. Equipment are crossing all over. Some I can tell you for sure that some of these equipment are emanating from as far as from Ukraine. Earlier, Libya was a major supply point. But now we're getting very serious intelligence report that even up from Ukraine, equipment are being brought towards to fight to strengthen ISWAP. And that is why ISWAP is more of an international link than the Boko Haram. So now the Nigerian government is also strengthening the neighbors, our neighbors around. In the past 2 years, there have been some lacuna because of the government over there among our neighbors. But Nigerian government have working, particularly the Nigerian Armed Forces, working with their counterparts in those countries to tighten up these boundary areas, these border areas, to ensure that these equipment don't come in freely. And the Multinational Joint Task Force, which is in N'Djamena, is also working closely in that regard. And the Chad basis is coordinating to ensure that more resources is provided from those angles. But by and large, because Nigeria seems to be at the receiving end of all this, the Nigerian government has pumped in some of the resources to ensure that this fight is taken out of our country finally. But more than that, I will keep emphasizing it, and that is the message that Nigerians must own this fight. They must own it, because it's Nigerians that are supplying some of all these things in terms of logistic, fueling, and all whatnot, medical equipment to them. Yes, when they kidnap, they request for ransom and ask for motorcycles. It's Nigerians, and sometimes when these requests are made, this information is not provided to the security agencies because they are being threatened, and out of fear they go to provide. The more we provide resources to them, the more they continue to create more problems for the society.
Okay. Finally, from our end here, what does this say about the current strength and morale of Nigeria's armed forces? And can you also confirm to us if their emoluments, their salaries, is actually undergoing a review?
Yes, not just only undergoing a review. Recently, Mr. President has put pen and paper to say, yes, there will be an actual fact action to that. Apart from President doing his own part, and because of course before the President did his own part, the leadership of the military made a request, and the executive arm have actually agreed by the President. But there are a lot of things that needs to be put in place for it to actually take effect. But more than just the remuneration, the important thing is that there's increase in training. Now, I tell you that one major motivation that a soldier requires is training and constant training, and making sure that the welfare is taken care of. And there is a soldier first mantra that is that has been brought over by the whole of the frontline troops, and they are happy about it. Yes, they still need more attention because you can't reach everyone at once because of lean resources. You are just discussing about economy earlier on the program. And as funds are provided, more welfare packages will be extended to them. And that is the commitment by the leadership of the Nigerian Armed Forces, and that I can tell you that is in place. All they require is support by the Nigerian people and actually the various government sectors that are meant to provide this funding for them. And when they are delaying, then it's affecting the whole arrangement. But if they action it as, because the president declared national emergency on security, so every department of government that have to act on ensuring that all the resources that is required for the armed forces to do their work is provided. They must, as a matter of urgency, make it available for them.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us the good strides or successes of the Nigerian military and the army. We would continue to keep in touch and find out what's being done. And maybe this would, in a way, slow down the attacks and then eventually abolish the insurgency. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Gbama.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, the front pages of the newspapers will be up next. Do well to join us then.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's now time for us to take a look at the newspaper front pages, and joining us to do that on this very auspicious day where the royal family in the United Kingdom is celebrating Nigeria's president and his wife, the First Lady, Mrs. Olayemi Cardoso, is the Chief Operations Officer at Sustainable Stories Africa, Olayemi. Ade, welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
We're expecting you to be in Windsor Castle as part of the
Wind and Son
presidential delegation.
Buckingham Palace.
Or Buckingham.
Buckingham Palace.
Buckingham.
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 Leave me alone.
Yeah,
I'm not a member of the delegation.
Okay. I
don't
thought
know.
Sustainable Stories might have...
No, I don't know the king personally, so...
Well, it's not a personal trip now, it's a state visit, so they could have...
So I'm not a member of the state entourage.
Business, community, Sustainable Stories, anything could have taken you there.
I'm more interested in how Africa is going to develop than asking the king to tell me how we're going to move forward.
By the way, the king, while raising a toast to Nigeria yesterday, he said, Nigeria know they carry last.
You know they carry last.
Let's see if
are you not excited about that statement?
Let's use that to start.
Man
from a king.
Man has been to Nigeria. There's so many Nigerians. He has Nigerian friends who speak pidgin English. So I really don't understand.
Besides.
But do we really carry last, apart from being the country with the highest number of out-of-school children?
Well, I don't know about last, but Nigerians believe that they must always be the head.
And not the tail.
And they tend to forget that without any other part of the body, the head is functionless.
And this head of yourself is the head of...
And also, apart from number of out-of-school kids,
multidimensionally poor.
Carry last, multidimensionally poor.
But we are not last.
Terrorized country.
But you know, when we see all these things, if you go and look at what, if you go and look at all the indices, all the, what's it called, on all those things that you call, or you say, we are not number last in the world now. So Nigeria doesn't carry last.
How about in Africa?
We are not even last in Africa.
Out-of-school kids?
I don't think we are last in Africa.
Most terrorized?
When you look at it in percentages...
Number of people dying from violent extremists.
If you look at it, because we live in Nigeria, we know. Do you understand? So we know about Nigeria. Okay. Do you live in other parts of Africa that you know what's happening?
Information is widely available.
Okay, let's talk about other parts of Africa. Let's start with the Punch newspaper. Bottom left corner of the Punch newspaper, the results of AFCON. Global outrage as CAF hands Senegal's cup to Morocco.
As how?
As how now?
While the cup sits. Well, anyway, let's get the reaction.
Well, so I don't think...
days later.
No. But I don't think Morocco has a right to appeal. I mean, or to... Well, yeah, whatever. However, what beats me is the referee and the match officials had so much time to call that game to an end. It was about 20 minutes. And it's true that the Senegalese walked off the field, which is wrong. But you didn't call it then. And then you allow the match commissioner, the match officials, everybody in the stadium, including the CAF president, all said, oh, let's come back and play. And then you play, and you allow it, which was wrong in the first instance, because I think it's after 3 to 5 minutes, the match official should have called that game to an end, with all the commotion and all. And the truth is that the Senegalese did walk out. But 2 months after, I don't know. You should never have let that game restart if you wanted it to be like this. And you had just awarded Morocco the title and 3-0 because they walked off the field. And that's the reality of the rules. I can't change the rules. But for as long as CAF, with the president sitting there, with the match officials, with the match commissioner sitting there who made his report at the end of the game, and you did not call, instead you were asking that the Senegalese please come back onto the field. And then 2 months down the line, you say, oh, the Moroccans had lodged a complaint, and based on the CAF rules, which are the rules, don't get me wrong, but the rules also says that if after 3 to 5 minutes of a team walking off the field, you should call the game to an end. If a team doesn't appear to come and take the kickoff, after 15 minutes or so, you call the game to an end. You didn't do all that. And I don't think Morocco should win the Nations Cup in the boardroom of CAF.
Well, His Excellency...
They're going to appeal, the Senegalese. They said they'll appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sports.
Yeah, and I think if the court, and something tells me that the Court of Arbitration will throw out that Moroccan.
Well, let's see.
I do hope so.
The trophy is still in the hands of the Senegalese.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Come and collect it.
No, it doesn't matter. They will give it back. They can't. They will give it back.
They'll give it back to CAF.
Of course, they will give it back.
And CAF.
And the replicas have been given to the players. Maybe the players can decide that they're not giving it back, and then CAF will go and make other replicas.
Of course, I think they will make replicas now.
And how do you think this will look?
That's because when you win the cup, you take the cup, they give you the replica that goes to the normal cup with it, and then they'll give replicas of the along with the gold medal to the players. I don't think those players will return them because then maybe CAF will go and make. So as it is now, we'll probably have 2 continental champions, and we don't know
champion. And
in 2027, at the end of 2027, we don't know who is going to be the African champion or the defending champion. And now the question now remains is, well, it's only the host countries that qualify automatically now, so they will still go and play their qualification.
Anyway.
Okay.
Let's tell you quickly that after a day of royal ceremony in Windsor, the focus of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's state visit now shifts to the heart of British politics here in London. Let's take a little break from the papers very quickly. And let's inform you that before holding key talks with Prime Minister Keir Starmer and engaging with the Nigerian diaspora, we did see a lot of images where the president and his wife, Senator Olayemi Tinubu, did meet with the king and his wife. You know, just sat down, had a great time. Anyway, our senior international correspondent, Afia Hagan, is live for us in Westminster this morning. Okay, we're trying to see if we could still establish connection with her. Hopefully, we'll do that in a bit. There's also a video of the king telling Nigerians, like Bengas highlighted, Nigeria, they carry last, talked about Nigeria.
He also said Nigerian jollof rice is the best. Okay.
Let's take a look at it.
In the United Kingdom are blessed that so many people of Nigerian heritage, having chosen Britain as their home, are now at the heart of British life through excelling at the highest levels of business, technology, academia, law, science, sport, literature, and the arts. I have met so many of these quiet heroes in our schools, businesses, National Health Service, and universities, including countless young people who have flourished through the work of my King's Trust over the last 50 years. Only last week, I was delighted to host a rather lively group of them for a jollof and tea party at St. James's Palace. I was firmly assured that the jollof was only the best Nigerian, of course.
When we come back, we'll talk some more, but that's the image you have on the front page of the Punch newspaper. So let's put up the Punch very quickly. We've touched on that. We'll also look at the economic importance, but our international correspondent will give us an insight into what happened behind the scenes and tell us some more. But let's look at this very interesting story. We've taken AFCON. There's this one there, 24 billion naira public projects abandoned in states, according to a report, the bottom right of the Punch newspaper. The likes of GST, Benga, if I'm right, Track and all of that, they've been doing a report of abandoned projects. Anyway, I apologize. Let's quickly see if we'll have to go back to our international correspondent, international correspondent Afe Jones again. Let's try this for another time. Give us an update into what's happening. After a day of royal ceremony in Windsor, the focus now shifts to Westminster. That's where we're going to. Can you tell us what the agenda will likely look like, or what it will look like today?
Yes, that's absolutely right. Yesterday was a day of pomp and pageantry, royal ceremony, and of course that was topped off by the state banquet last night. The real showpiece of this whole visit, 160 guests were in attendance at the state banquet last night, where the King spoke of the living bridge of the Nigerian community in the UK. You had quite a lot of famous figures in place, along with Queen Camilla and the Prince and Princess of Wales. There was a cocktail reception. You also had a speech from the president where he talked about the importance of the partnership between Nigeria and the UK. King Charles described Nigeria as an economic powerhouse, a cultural force, and an influential diplomatic voice. He also brought up the famous Jollof Wars and said that Nigerian jollof was the best, something that I'm going to have to refute right here on News Central. But it was a very successful state banquet last night. Everybody dressed up to the nines, and like I said, it's about the soft power in the state banquet, which is really, really important. All the small details of what was eaten, what was served, what people wore, all very important, and paving the way for today. So today is a day that's more about diplomacy. I'm in front of Westminster Abbey, where later on we will see President Tinubu come and lay a wreath here, and then he will go down the road to Downing Street to have a private meeting with UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. So like I said, yesterday, royal pomp and pageantry. Today is about diplomacy, and those really important discussions between President Tinubu and the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
And I'd like to expand on that. You know, these talks with Prime Minister Keir Starmer, how significant are those talks likely to be? And, you know, when we're done with this report, we will deal with the Jollof Wars.
So, to your first point, the talks between President Tinubu and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer are going to be extremely important. Defence and security is certainly going to be an issue, especially after the explosions that happened in Nigeria earlier on this week. And when you look at where the UK Prime Minister is and say where the US President is when it comes to security in Nigeria, I mean, we had those bombs dropped on Nigeria by the United States over Christmas Day, but here you have Sir Keir Starmer sitting down with President Tinubu. Let's remember that, of course, Nigeria used to be a British colony, and so there still is that relationship between the UK and Nigeria is definitely going to lean into that relationship in terms of talking about defence and security across the country, something that President Tinubu has said definitely they do need some help on. So we can expect that that will be a really, really significant part of the talks. Trade between the two countries is also going to be a significant part of the talks. Trade between the UK and Nigeria is worth £8 billion a year. That's a significant amount of money. And so it's about increasing that trade, it's about maintaining and strengthening that relationship as well.
Now, Asia, we're also expecting a wreath laying at Westminster Abbey. What does that signify diplomatically?
Wreath laying is something that really is reserved for world leaders. It's not something that happens every day, and it's not something that happens all the time. That is a very significant part of this visit. It's about paying those respects to the grave of the unknown soldier and the tomb of Queen Elizabeth II as well. So that wreath laying, again, very significant and very important, actually, that President Tinubu was asked to do that here at Westminster Abbey, right in central London. And like I said, it's just down the road from the palaces of Westminster, from the Houses of Parliament, the Houses of Lords, and of course Downing Street, where those talks between President Tinubu and UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer will take place.
All right. We now also know that there's going to be a strong focus on the Nigerian diaspora during this visit. How important is that community in UK-Nigeria relations?
Listen, the diaspora community here in the UK is so very important when it comes to UK-Nigeria relations. The largest diasporan population anywhere in the world, the biggest population outside Nigeria is here in the UK, believed to be about 500,000 people. So it's a significant amount of people. So it's a hugely, hugely important relationship and something that's going to be nurtured during this visit. One of the last engagements is going to be a reception at the Tate Modern, which is going to be attended by members of the Nigerian diaspora community. So that engagement with the community is hugely important. And yesterday we saw lots and lots of people from the Nigerian community turning out to welcome President Tinubu to Windsor. We can expect to see some more of those people here today in and around London. So yeah, it's a significant relationship and one that will certainly be nurtured and spotlighted during this visit.
Okay. Anyway, we've taken charge of every single thing thanks to your on-the-ground reporting and giving us updates. And as we anchor here on this conversation, I think you started a fire earlier on, and it could lead to a storm on the best jollof rice. But if the king says so, who are we to change it?
Exactly. The word of the king is law. And if you must remember that the headquarters of News Central is situated in Nigeria. So you might want to think carefully as the management and the board are watching. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to connecting with you.
Listen, there's always time to change the king's mind. Don't worry about that.
Okay, we'll wait for that. All right, Ifya, thank you very much. We'll continue. We hope to connect with you again as the visit wraps up today, and we'll see, what the next steps are. But let's still look at the front pages of the paper. Let's maybe get your response to. I'm sure you followed with the report with Ifya.
Yes, I did. You guys. First time, when the king's word, yes, is final. Yes, however,
it's binding.
You guys have just bullied it for her into
no, we can't do that.
Threatened her.
No, we can't. Let me finish. And you guys should always calm down. The only reason why I will accept that the king's word is final, because both Ghana and Nigeria, are you with me, served the king.
Oh, okay.
A former colonist, British colonist.
So if the king tells his subjects that this is the best jollof rice, then he has
to. Well, thanks to independence, we're not subjects anymore.
Yes, we're not subjects anymore.
So and I have tried both jollof rice.
And as far as I'm concerned, Ethiopian jollof is the best.
I want Ethiopia to be the best.
Yeah. We know where that's coming from, right?
Ethiopia was not a part of the conversation.
Anyway.
Marriage is powerful.
I 24 billion public projects.
Just briefly, yeah. I think this should be a good visit. But the other thing for me is that we've seen so many visits like this over the last 3 years. MOUs have been signed. You continue to sign MOUs. We're not seeing them translate into projects in Nigeria. And the reason is simple: insecurity. Maybe this would help us change. I was speaking somewhere else earlier in the day, and I said that I hope that it's not just signing these MOUs, but ensuring that this infrastructure is brought into Nigeria. Nigerians are employed towards helping build these infrastructures locally, because we have a lot of those raw materials here. So what you require is the equipment and the expertise, and then you develop the Nigerians into continually building that and expanding on it. So that will be my final take. And you were talking about 24 billion.
Yeah, the report on the Punch newspaper, bottom right, 24 billion naira public projects abandoned in states.
In states. I thought it was much more than that. In Nigeria, the country where you hear abandoned projects, and I'm wondering, is governance not a continuum? Every new governor that comes in wants to start a new project, and the ones that you have built, some of them are almost completed. It's just for you to cut the tape. But they'll rather cut the tape at the foundation laying than cut the tape where Nigerians are going to be employed, or Nigerians are going to use the infrastructure to create wealth, to improve the economy. Are you with me? So of what value is it? 24 billion. That's a lot, but it's still small when you compare it to the fact that trillions are being. Many states are budgeting trillions these days. Are you with me? But and they budget, in quotes, so much for capital expenditure. I don't know how much of it goes into infrastructure development, whether it's road maintenance or road building or providing accommodation and so on and so forth. And I always go back to history, because without history, there is no way we will go forward. And I always use Lagos State as a good example. A lot of the infrastructure that you have today that haven't been improved upon in Lagos State, and even the master plan that we're seeing everybody chop and dice in Lagos State, started in the 70s. And there was a conscious effort to build them in the 5-year development plan, and it was being done. And then all this infrastructure, how do we get back these monies if they are not functional? So it's just sad. And as we reflect on Eid today, then I guess it's a good way to reflect whether the states and the state governors are actually doing what they're supposed to do.
Okay, let's take a look at the front page of this Nigerian newspaper. They're going with a different one, and it's the only newspaper that doesn't seem to be excited about the royal visit. Army kills over 80 terrorists in Borno, flag drone threat. The writer says 4 soldiers wounded as key ISWAP commanders fall. Military warns that local support fuels Boko Haram insurgency, and the vice president also visited the victims in Borno yesterday and vows a stronger counter-terror. Quite unprecedented. 80 terrorists killed in Malam Fatori when they attacked the forward operating base of Nigerian army. Could we say this is the beginning of the end of terrorism in Nigeria? What do you expect the military to do from this point onwards? It seems like the era of carrot is over. They've taken the carrot away, and they've left only the stick at this point.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to commend the military for this. So when one of the things that we tend to feel in Nigeria is that we just continue to apportion blames without giving good words for work that have been done. So let's first and foremost commend the military for this action. If they've actually taken away the carrot and it's the stick, then they should continue wielding that big stick and just, and even get a machete and clear out all our forests and weed out the bad eggs that continue to make Nigeria insecure and the lives of Nigerians, countless Nigerians that have been lost. Maybe we'll start saving them. The responsibility of government is to provide security for Nigerians and make Nigerians be able to live in a country where they can go about their daily activities, go about their chores, and improve on the economy of Nigeria, both individually and as a collective. So I'm glad that this has happened. A good way to celebrate Eid for all those who have terrorized all those all those innocent Nigerians who have been trying to get through the holy month of Eid. And let's remember, we're still in the holy month of Lent. So I guess, and I just hope that they will continue in this direction.
Mr. President has also promised an upward review of the salaries of service personnel. How much will that do to their morale?
It would do a lot, but yeah, Wenga, if you work in an organization where, let's use News Central, and you have to broadcast, are you with me? And they increase your salary, but there are no cameras. What value is that to me? Today, me as an individual, I'll be happy. What are you going to be showcasing on TV? So the first thing for me is, yes, the salary increase is really important, but the first thing is provide them with the necessary equipment to fight the war on terror. Once that is done, and you can hear everywhere Nigeria goes, there is always a defense pack or an MOU on how to work together on intelligence, on equipment, and so on. That's the first thing. Put down that money to fight the war so that you don't hear that terrorists ransack our military bases. Because it was happening so much that everybody was getting scared that what's happening to the military, that the terrorists have more sophisticated weapons than the Nigerian military. That's a lot. So if you don't have the weapons and the equipment to fight them, how do you win a battle?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Well, still looking at the paper, Benga touched on this Nigeria. Pretty much there's nothing more there. So I think let's just flip to a leadership newspaper. There's a lot there that we can talk about. Oshola Dikboju, others condemn CAF's decision to strip Senegal of AFCON title. Musepe right in front of there with the picture, but we've touched on that briefly when we started. I think we should look at...
Big one.
Yeah.
Oil surge,
exactly.
derail rate cuts, inflation fight. How significant is the events in the Middle East?
It's a reality.
How?
How? And can it get worse?
Nigerians.
Inflation, yes, it could get worse. Inflation could increase at the end of March. We saw a slight downward trend at the end of February with the inflation numbers that were released. It went from 16 to 15. Are you me? Well, first and foremost, let's remember that a lot of the things that we do is dependent on energy. Whether it's power, whether it's transportation, so petrol, diesel, power, gas, and so on. And the Iran-Iraq war has pushed oil prices from an average of about $70 in the last year. It's gone to $100. It's stabilized now about $90-something. We heard Iran also say, now that the Eid is over, I guess the Iranians are now going to focus on this war against America. And with Europe not knowing whether they should fully support America or they should just sit back, Iran wants to push crude oil prices to $200. They've closed the Strait of Hormuz for how long? 2 weeks now, where 25% of crude. So supply is going to be short. Demand will remain the same.
So you don't see this war ending anytime soon?
I hope it will end within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
I mean, knowing that...
Because there's so much... So the reason why I think it would end soon or end within the next month is because there's so much pressure on the American government at home.
So it's the United States that has the cards to end all of this?
Yeah, and you heard the president asking that they end this war.
I mean, as somebody who has a hand-me-down Nobel Peace Prize and has a FIFA Peace Prize, I expect nothing less than peaceful conduct from him.
He's a peace president, so maybe...
I was really surprised he attacked.
Well, you know, I guess he had tried to preach peace for the first year, and nobody listened to him, so he needed to start some wars so that he can come back and preach some peace. Maybe that's the way to go. So that
I
now
got
maybe
petrol yesterday, and it's no fault of mine or any one of us on the set that we should be buying petrol at 1,200 and 250. I got for 230.
I got for 233.
I got for
230. That's the beauty
for nothing that we did.
It's not a beauty.
That's the beauty of you being able to have
anything.
It's a beast.
Yes,
why? Because
the
it's
beauty of this beast. So that's the beast.
For you, for me, for me, that has always proposed that we deregulate the market.
I think the core impact of
why is there no cushioning for Nigerians? Exactly.
Yeah, but I said, but that's what I said at the beginning. I said we will start. You can take me. Just before you take me through.
I'm coming.
What I've said is that we won't start to feel this impact until March.
Okay.
We are feeling it now.
Permit me. No, we're feeling it. It's tough. He's saying it will increase, but let me say this very quickly. In the entirety of this fuel price hike, let me run through some African countries. Zimbabwe, the fuel price went from $1.56 to $2.17.
That's the reality.
$1 plus.
That's the reality.
Zambia, 1.51 to 1.60.
Yeah, that's the reality.
6%.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe was 39.1%. Tanzania, plus or minus 4%. Mozambique, plus or minus 4%, from 120 to 125. That is Mozambique. In South Africa,
Mozambique, that's also because they have oil and they have.
Yes, these guys I'm listing.
As was it up to 10? Was it up to 10%?
More.
No, above how much?
Who?
Nigeria is about 50%.
Nigeria is 50. That's what I'm saying. So why is it that
it's also your currency?
Nigeria is no. I would not want to agree that we always have
the cost. No. It's not just that. It's the cost. Let me tell you something. For as long as
I'm trying to hit up the polity here. So could we just say that our refinery is not working?
But you have a refinery that is...
No, we don't have a refinery.
Which refinery?
A private refinery.
We have a private refinery and we have modular refineries. These are just 3 in number.
Wow, are you listening to me now? I can hear my echo sound around the studio.
I think we need to really help the audience.
Well, I think you are still laughing, don't worry.
Because I've been saying this. Sarcasm. No, it's sarcasm, and I have sometimes, maybe we just need to be sarcastic for us to now start to face the reality I've been talking about for the last 6 months.
Sarcastic as
Saka Tunumbu, or Bukayo Saka. Anyway, we've seen the lighter, but these are the realities that we're facing. Yeah. And I said that, I've been saying that for the last 6 months. We need to be able, first and foremost, you don't have enough crude to sell to that refinery in Naira. That's one. So he still has to refine, and he's going to buy crude in that international market. Now, we're not even producing enough crude to sell, to have excess crude. We might get some excess crude money because it's jumped from $70 to $90. So let's say $20. For how long? And how are we going to put that back into the system? That's another thing. And you don't have the infrastructure to deal with that. Power, zero. So people are buying more petrol for power now, despite the fact that you see many people are buying solar. Solar is expensive. I went to my barber the other day. He has a solar panel. If you buy it outright, 1.2 million. One tiny thing that powers that. If you buy it with financing, 1.7 million. These are the realities that we're facing. And these realities we're going to live with. So petrol prices going up is not just because those other countries don't have refineries. That's why some of them are so
I know
high.
it's been...
They don't.
Okay, well, because of lack of time. I know the industry has been deregulated, but we use power a lot in Nigeria, and shouldn't the government intervene in some points? Some analysts have said, let's have targeted subsidies beyond the sharing of rice.
And I'm not against that, because it's a point like this that government should put those mechanisms into place. Are you with me? It's a point like this. Last week we were talking about CNG, which we would say could be a replacement. But at the pace at which whether you convert it or you are bringing in new cars that use EVs. Now the question also is, everybody says, oh, let's move to EVs. You don't even have the power to power those EVs. I'm not following them. You see, different, and there are different reasons. You don't have power. The cost is expensive. CNG, you don't have enough infrastructure to convert cars. You don't have enough infrastructure to even sell these
stations, yeah.
to have dispensing station. So, and we'll come back to where we started from. Where is the infrastructure? Infrastructure is, and I said this, and I've said this, and I think I've said it so many times. We need to move into a system whereby we're building so much infrastructure, we're employing people. Are you with me? 10,000 naira as manual labor for as long as money is coming out. Then you start to spend out of where we are in Nigeria. It's not palliatives that will take us out of poverty.
And rice.
That's palliative. Rice. It must be people working, people earning, and people spending.
Value.
Because the velocity of money with over 120 trillion in the economy, I don't see that velocity.
But what just to mention, South Africa does have a refinery. Just to clarify that, they do have the SAPREF refinery in Durban.
I said some of those countries.
Yes.
I didn't mention the specific
I also want to
ones.
mention quickly that the disparity in terms of pricing is actually minus plus 2% since the port of Omoso, name it, the issue. So their fuel price did not go up by 50%.
And that's a system.
However,
that's a system.
Yes,
are you with me? No, that's a system that has ensured that the effects of demand and supply.
The shocks.
No. The shocks also, and the effects of demand and supply, meaning that have an open system where everybody can play in.
Permit me to also quickly, because we're running out of time, to put the Punch newspaper back. Since we're still discussing on this fuel issue, Benga, this is very key. At the top, the middle there, that is on page 21, it says imported petrol undercuts local supply by 94 naira. Just 48 hours, we heard that we now have, importers are back and they're no longer going to the Dangote.
Does it mean imported petrol is cheaper?
It's cheaper. That's the latest story. Let me quickly let me
explain that to you. Let me read to
the landing cost of imported petrol is 94. Is the landing cost is 94.53 naira cheaper.
And so
than the domestic gantry price, according to a report.
You know the irony of life.
What's it?
Being in that industry, I learned so much. Now, the one thing that people don't understand about refined petroleum products is it's not just having a refinery. It's having a logistics system. And when I say logistics system, I mean warehousing, where has anybody ever heard of blending in this part of? Do you know what blending is? You know what blending is? Exactly. Many ports across the globe, what they do is that you buy all forms of products and then you blend them into meeting the specifications of the countries that they're going to. One, I will buy one that has high sulfur, which is probably cheaper, and buy one that is like Brent, or Bonny Light, which is higher. So if I take 3 parts of Bonny Light and 1 part of sulfur, it cuts that cost.
Is that not what was the issue in Port Harcourt refinery when they had just opened and then they said they were accused of blending? And they said
those ones didn't even produce anything.
Let's leave that one. I just need to explain a number of all those things. So because we have 1 refinery or we had 4 refineries, it does not make the price of petrol cheaper. Even the price of petrol for the kind of crude we bring out of the ground will be higher, though the amount of petrol that comes out will be more.
So is this 50% justified?
Ask when it comes to petrol, I've shut my mind to what I see, I buy. Is it justified?
NMPCL.
No, I don't do. Joe, I don't do any brief for anybody. I do the brief for Nigeria so that we all understand that petroleum products, when you deregulate the market, are you with me? There are so many players. However, petrol that is meant to be sold at the dispensing pump in Nigeria has a standard. The regulatory body must insist that we meet a sulfur content standard for you to dispense it on air. And once you do that, then you will have different people selling petrol at, not some of them will sell at 10 naira different, so not the 2 naira and the 1 naira that you're selling.
And the question is your guest saying that because our refineries are not working, and even if they were working,
no, I am telling you,
in this mess.
Oh yes, even we can be. Yes, we've been in this mess so many times.
But they're not working
because first and foremost, if you say you want to sell crude locally, you don't have enough crude to sell to the people who are refining. That's one. So they must still buy from outside in that market. And where do they buy from? You must create a system whereby every part of that upstream, midstream, downstream works. You must have blending facilities. When everybody talks about the port of what's it called, Singapore, and not the song of Singapore and Rotterdam. Rotterdam has a storage capacity of 3.3 million cubic feet. What do you think they do there? There's no refinery there at that port. Blending.
Okay, so the average Nigerian now should just manage the price.
Like I have done. I'm an average Nigerian.
That's subject to argument. Thank you.
You can argue that from now to tomorrow, but I'm an average Nigerian.
Thank you to our audience, those who joined physically and virtually as well. It's been a pleasure to have you join us. We'll be back again tomorrow to wrap up the week. I know today feels like Friday, but no, it's not Friday. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you once again. And I'm going to end the show because Benga wants to crack a dry joke, and I don't want to let him. All right, go ahead. Crack your dry joke.
Happy Eid, everyone.
No, he always likes to wrap up the show with a dry joke.
I have nothing to say. It's just that I have to look for electric car to buy and put my generator inside the electric car because light is not guaranteed.
Wow.
Because
So
anytime the car goes
charge the car.
Yes, I charge the car.
Just buy solar.
No comment. We'll be right back tomorrow. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Jasiri comes up next.
Bye, everyone.